Hello everyone, Dr. Stillman here, and today we are going to be talking about why breakfast really might just be the most important meal of the day. We're going to talk about tryptophan, melatonin, how your body makes melatonin, why it makes melatonin, why tryptophan is relevant, and how your simple, humble dietary choices in the morning for breakfast can really have a profound impact on your health over the long term. What am I talking about and why does it matter? We're going to start with this paper, effective tryptophan-rich breakfast and light exposure during the daytime on melatonin secretion at night. Before I get further into the paper, shout out to everyone who's a paid subscriber on my Substack. You guys get the real dope sauce information that is it's too good for me to put outside of a paywall because I'm not willing to let people pick it up and do bad things with it. Long story. If you want to know more, go subscribe to it. Make sure you're on my Telegram channel. Make sure that you're on the free Substack version so you can get an idea of what's going to be in the paid, and obviously get my uncensored thoughts, which I can't put out on social media platforms like this lovely one. But anyway, so what did they do in this study? They had a number of different environments that they hypothesized would create different levels of melatonin. For those of you who don't know, melatonin is super important. The less melatonin you have, generally speaking, the sicker you are. But it's not as simple as more melatonin good, less melatonin bad, run out and buy high doses of melatonin and just take them for the rest of your life. No. It's much more complicated than that. It's about how your environment works, and you can't just step on the gasoline and expect to get somewhere faster. If you have, say, a broken axle or a flat tire, that may actually be counterproductive. We're going to talk about how a tryptophan-rich breakfast and a high-dose light environment can really affect your melatonin cycling, as they showed in this paper. So they had 4 groups: poor or tryptophan low diet or low breakfast, dim environment. Okay. Then they had a tryptophan-rich breakfast with a dim environment, okay? And then they had a tryptophan-poor breakfast with a bright environment, and then they had a tryptophan-rich breakfast with a bright environment, right? So, 4-quadrant plot, they varied all of them: high, low, dim, bright. The difference is stark. 55 milligrams of tryptophan in the tryptophan-poor breakfast, that's very little. 476 milligrams per meal in the tryptophan-rich breakfast. This is a reasonable amount of tryptophan that you could get in a meal if you ate an adequate amount of protein. Pro tip: grains are rich in tryptophan. So if you get a high protein grain, you could use that as part of your morning meal to meet this requirement. I love grains, unlike a lot of people these days. What about the light? Okay, so the dim light environment was less than 50 lux. To give you guys a little bit of an idea of what that really means, it's dusk here in Florida. I have a relatively warm light on for illumination in this video. And sitting right here, the amount of lux coming at me is about 70. Okay, put it towards the window, and this is a lux meter. Lux is a measurement of the units of light that are hitting an optical surface. You can download this on your phone and actually use it to quantify your environment. You'll get an idea of how different your light environments are. Your pupil is ceaselessly working in order to control the amount of light coming into your retina, so you aren't, variously blinded or left blind because things are so bright that you can't see, or so dark that you can't see. So the amount of lux coming into the windows over there is about 11. So at dusk, it's very, very dim, dark. This is an office with, south-facing windows that are open. And so in the middle of the day, that number is in the hundreds. Or if I'm actually underneath the sun and the sun's truly coming into the windows, it can be in the thousands or tens of thousands. So your light environment varies dramatically during the day. One of the red flags in history for me of a patient is I work inside in a building with no windows. Their light environment during the day may be less than 50 lux all day. People call seasonal affective disorder, and they treat it with a light lamp. I think that's a silly name. I call it light deficiency syndrome, because that's really what it is. But as we're going to talk about a little bit later, light deficiency is not as simple as add light, because what does that even mean? Light exists along a spectrum. At the very far low energy end are the radio waves and microwaves, which we're not even supposed to be exposed to in nature. And at the very, very far other end, you have the ionizing radiations like gamma waves and X-rays, which don't actually penetrate the Earth's atmosphere. And in the middle, between infrared, which you can't see but you would perceive as heat, and ultraviolet light, ultraviolet type B is what your body uses to make vitamin D. Your cells actually produce UVC in order to divide that may surprise you. That's Light Shaping Light by Roland Benwick. In between those two, bookended, those bookends are in the middle is visible light, are where life really uses light in order to do a lot of work. And light is the signal to the brain and the body that it's daytime, because if you didn't know, the sun is really bright and at night it goes away on the other side of the earth and it's really dark. So that's how your body entrains its circadian rhythms primarily. It can also use the electromagnetic field of the earth, but that's a story for another day. So what they found in this study is consistent with what they had hypothesized. The brighter the environment and the more tryptophan in the breakfast, the higher the melatonin levels in that experimental group, which implies that you can boost your melatonin levels by increasing the amount of light that you're exposed to, as well as increasing your tryptophan load. Now, there's a couple of caveats to this that I don't think people really get enough education on, which is why I do these videos. Bright, what does bright mean? Okay, the main triggers for your circadian rhythms are visible light. Visible light is what will entrain those circadian rhythms, specifically frequencies within the green and blue. But that doesn't mean that other frequencies of light don't affect melatonin production. There is an abundant literature showing that infrared and red light trigger melatonin production as well. And I caution people who use bright light therapy as visible light only, because we don't live in a world where in nature we're exposed to visible light only. 42% of the photons coming to you from sunlight are infrared. We're going to talk about why that matters in a minute. So this is the initial premise of this video. You can change your melatonin levels by changing what you have for breakfast and whether or not you eat it out on your porch or whether you eat it in a closet. Pretty profound stuff. Little changes, right? Like eating dinner out on the back patio versus, in a dark dining alcove can make a big difference, particularly over the long term, because effects from this will compound over time as melatonin works on your system in order to improve your health, as the case may be. Another thing I want to point out here is that they used creatinine adjusted melatonin in urine. Why is that important? And why is it important to adjust it for creatinine? Because that's adjusting it for the patient's body habitus. It's a crude metric to adjust it for that, but it's a really robust measurement, in my opinion, that corroborates what they're saying. Now, what they're also saying is that this could promote melatonin secretion at night. The other thing about melatonin is that at night it comes out to play. In the day, it gets produced in your skin and your soft tissues and organs and things like that in response to a variety of stimuli. But at night, it gets released from the pineal gland into the bloodstream, where it runs around the body. And I say it turns on regeneration, rejuvenation programs, much like a janitor, cleaning up all the cellular debris that got generated during the day and regenerating cellular energy stores and nutrient levels. If this video has been helpful to you, make sure that you check out my link tree below to find out how you can keep in touch with me best. And if you would like to become a patient at my practice, please apply to work with me at stillmanmd.com. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day.